If you are building AI agents, you must know this. On February 19th, Anthropic published a new legal and compliance page that sent the whole AI community into panic. The short version? Using your Claude subscription in third-party tools is now explicitly against terms of service. But here's the thing, my OpenClaw secure and cheap replica, which we call GoBot, was built with these new terms from the ground up and is not breaking any rules. And today I'm going to break down exactly what's allowed, what's not, and how to build 24/7 AI second brain that actually does stuff the right way. So you don't wake up one day banned from Anthropic, because believe me, you do not want to get banned from Anthropic. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm a crazy person who reads terms of service. So I read the whole legal and compliance page, so you don't have to. And this is especially important for me because I built a GoBot, more than 300 people already forked it and built on top. The community has used it and compared it to OpenClaw, and consensus is GoBot is better. So I need to know these things if I give it to people, right? So let me give you a quick timeline because there is a lot of confusion. In late 2025, a lot of tools popped up that allowed you to use Claude subscription, which is either $20, $100 or $200 inside our applications. And as we know, the most popular one being OpenClaw. But before that, we also had OpenCode, kind of like a replica of Claude Code. So OpenClaw was working by using your Claude subscription, which uses your OAuth token. So it can power your assistant on Telegram, WhatsApp, whatever you place it. And for a while, nobody said really anything about it. January 2026, Anthropic's legal team sent a cease and desist to the OpenClaw, which was before ClaudeBot, which was very closely sounding like Claude. But the bigger issue came on February 19th, when Anthropic published their new legal and compliance page and made the rules crystal clear. And what we wrote is both simple and more nuanced than most people think. Let me show you exact wording. By the way, I also made 2 blog posts on my website. We can check out those both in the description below. Okay, so let's go straight to the source. Here's the first key section, and I'm going to read word by word and explain it to you. Advertised usage limits for Pro and Max plans assume ordinary, individual, which is important, usage of Claude Code and the agent SDK. In my setup on like hosted services, we are using agent SDK with API, and on the machine, we are using Claude subscription. I'm going to explain you why that is allowed. But remember, ordinary individual usage, that's important. Now here is a big one. Under authentication and credential use. OAuth authentication used with free Pro and Max plans is intended exclusively from Claude Code and Claude.ai. Using OAuth tokens obtained through Claude Free Pro or Max accounts in any other product, tool or service, including the agent SDK, is not permitted and constitutes a violation on consumer terms of service. Now, many of you asked me, GoBot uses Claude Code subscription because it is in Claude Code. Essentially, we are using Claude Code. We're just accessing it through Telegram, through WhatsApp, Google Chats, Teams, Discourse, like the community went crazy and placed it in all the different places. But we are essentially communicating with Claude Code. So we are using subscription authorized way inside of Claude Code, but we are accessing it from the different interface, right? I hope that makes it clear. But here's one more critical section. Developers building products or services that interact with Claude's capabilities, including those using Agent SDK, should use API key authentication through Claude Console or supported cloud provider. Anthropic does not permit third-party developers to offer Claude.ai login or to route requests through a free Pro or Max plan credentials on behalf of their users. So to translate this all in a plain language, Claude Code on your computer and set up like GoBot is allowed. You use your subscription. And that's why it was such a no-brainer that why don't you use Claude Code and then you access Claude Code through any other place, through the calling, through the messaging, instead of building the whole new application and trying to hijack it. Next, Claude.ai in your browser, of course, you use your subscription is allowed. Any third-party tools or agents like OpenClaw or OpenCode is not allowed. And extracting that token for authorization is also not allowed. But if you are building something that runs fully autonomous for 24/7, is hosted on VPS services, or if it's a third-party tool that is using it, you need an API key. And I understand that Claude is expensive, but if you use smart routing, again, like you can read on my blog post, the cost, like you're mitigating the cost. You're not running Opus on the messages like, hi, how are you? You're routing that to Haiku. And only complex tool use tasks you're routing to Agent SDK, and then you use API key for Opus. But those are one-off shots. Most people, when they communicate with their agentic tools, 60 to 70% of your communication is like, hey, what's in this message, block a calendar event, and stuff like that. Plus, in GoBot, we have a fallback model. So, for example, if traffic goes down, it falls down to OpenRouter, and then you can use different models. If OpenRouter goes down, it falls back to your local model. But basically, there are so many smart ways to do this. And this is what we teach in the community, and I see people are doing it, and it's just like, awesome. But we need to address something more because it got really confusing, and I don't blame you. Like, I got confused too because I was going to the dentist and Short texted me that, hey, the page about terms of service on your blog post is not accurate anymore because Anthropic updated it. And I was like, oh, damn it. Okay, so I called GoBot and I told it to research the things and basically go and make changes on the blog post. Great. I go to dentist, I come out, it's done. Later in the evening, one of employees at Anthropic makes a tweet that it's a mistake. And this is where it gets really confusing. This Anthropic employee publicly tweeted that apologies, this was a docs cleanup we rolled out that caused some confusion. Nothing is changing about how you can use Agent SDK and Mac subscriptions. So is it or is it not? But basically, the documentation as it stands today says that auth tokens in third-party tools is a violation. But Anthropic engineer is saying nothing is changed. He also said in a follow-up post that enforcement would be aimed at people reselling tokens and, quote, if you are building a business on top of Agent SDK, you should use an API key instead. This is, again, what I said and why we are using API key. That's the intended use, and experience using it is way better. And here's my take, and I want to be direct about it. Tweets do not override legal documentation. If Anthropic's written documentation says it's violation, that's what we can enforce. And a tweet from employee, even though well-intended, is not really a legal shield. So my advice, build based on documentation and just like a little bit of a common sense. If it changes, great, but protect yourself and protect your business and protect your clients. Now let's talk about elephant in the room. OpenClaw and GoBot. When I built it, I didn't fork OpenClaw. I went with my existing setup in Claude Code and I just built features on top that I wanted. Both are autonomous agents. Both can live in different platforms. Both can go and execute on your behalf. But the reason GoBot is secure, we are leveraging enterprise-grade solution from an Anthropic, one of the best coding AI agent platform. So if what they build is good enough for governments to use, it's good enough for me to use. So I hope this video clarifies, because that was probably one of the top questions that I saw you guys asking in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and for everyone who joined the community. I'm so happy to build with all of you together. This is really cool, and thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one.